Okay, hey beautiful friends. I am feeling so grateful. I've just listened to a wonderful conversation between Andrea Land and Jessa Reed. I'm going to link it below. You can join Jessa's Patreon for free, and it's my impression that this conversation is available for free. But I would recommend I think everybody who watches my channel already is a member of Jessa's Patreon. But if you're not, I recommend it. It's like the best $10 you can spend a month, or I think there's a $5 tier too, maybe even a 20. Um, yeah, just such good, helpful information. So the what was like my greatest joy to hear as they talked about solar flares and Schumann resonance, which I don't know a lot about, and I'm very interested to learn more, is that there's a huge tie-in with the nervous system. And I'm kind of obsessed right now because I started talking about this nervous system stuff, and like no one else I knew was talking about it. And now it's probably just the algorithm, but I feel like everything is tying back to the nervous system, and everyone's saying like understanding and supporting our nervous system is one of the most impactful things we can do right now. So I feel like really delighted that everyone's getting on board with this. I feel like it is one of the things that we do have tools for, which in a pretty chaotic experience of being on this planet, one of the things that was most destabilizing for me was feeling like just I had nothing I could do. Like I felt really out of control and like the world was just like happening to me. And understanding the nervous system stuff, it's like I have things I can do, which feels amazing and so empowering. I just got done with a camping weekend with some friends, and it was very sweet and lovely, but also like really hard on my nervous system because I'm really not very social. I really like to be by myself, and it was a lot of nonstop interaction and a lot of activity and a lot of sounds and smells and experiences that were new and unfamiliar, which is already a lot for your nervous system. And a lot of the like catching up where you like tell everybody what's going on in your life. And it wiped me out. And I didn't do what I'm starting to call like my mission critical things, which are those things which like sort of keep my ship afloat. And I just learned like a month ago when I went on another vacation that like I can't skip those things. And yet I couldn't figure out how to do them with this whole like group dynamic of camping. So I didn't do my walks, I didn't do my meditation, I didn't do my journaling. I didn't even take, which is like my main thing that I preach is the please skill. I didn't take my medication at the time that I regularly take it, which makes such an impact. And I didn't take my supplements. And yeah, I just didn't have my routine and I didn't have my mission critical stuff. And so I felt like a wreck by the time that I got home last night. And thank God I had just come through this experience just recently. And so I was able to be like, you know what? Like I had nothing. I was like such a grump. And my kid was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I like couldn't even smile. I was like, you know what? We're gonna throw everything in the house. You get yourself comfy, play, do whatever feels good to you. I'm gonna take my walk. And I did that and it helped a little bit. And then I took my medication, took my supplements, ugh, did our night, got myself some sleep, and then woke up, did my meditation, did my walking right away, took my medication and supplements, and like already I feel like an entirely different human, which is just fascinating. But it's so empowering to have something at our fingertips that we can really do. So I love that other people are talking about this. And I love knowing this piece about the solar flares and the Schumann resonance because it's another layer of like, all right, it's not you, it's your nervous system. Like if you're having more anxiety, if you're having lots of changes to your appetite, if you're having more fatigue or brain fog, like your nervous system is likely responding to all of these environmental things, you know, all the toxins that we are having to face in our food and our water, um, all of the, you know, political chaos, all of the solar flares and Schumann resonance, like it is directly affecting our nervous system. And your nervous system is what? Is in charge of all of your bodily functions that impact whether you're going to digest, whether you're going to feel calm and peaceful, or scared and freaked out, or angry, or depressed. Your mental health and physical health are like dictated by your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve is impacted by your environment so significantly. And so knowing and giving ourselves credit for like not questioning ourselves when we're feeling poorly is, I think, something that is has been the biggest impact for me, because there's so much pressure to like be manifesting your dream life and be living your joy and passion, and like just be like on the people on the Instagram who are like just living a vacation every single day and they're so happy, there's so much pressure on that. And I really love the validation of like, yeah, it's not you, it's your nervous system. If you're having a hard time, it just is something probably related to your vagus nerve, and there are ways that you can support it. And then you can support yourself in like being able to do that work that you need to do to understand whatever thoughts and behaviors are going on in your life. When we try to change our thoughts and behaviors without supporting our nervous system usually is like, yep, nope, that's not safe, and will block us from being able to do that. So I'm not going to get on too big of a soapbox about this. You guys know that I just super love talking about the nervous system. So what I'm going to do is I just want to highlight this conversation that Andrea Land and Jessa had. I'm going to put the link to that. Please go join the Patreon so that you can hear that conversation, because it is really helpful to understand that we're in a very high period of these solar flares and Schumann resonance. It's going to get higher over the next couple of like weeks, months, and then it's going to be gradually coming down for a long time. So like for several years, maybe we're gonna, I don't know the details, please do the research. We're gonna be in this, and we want to support ourselves. And I love how the recommendations that Andrea makes are like total overlapping with the recommendations that I make about how to support your nervous system. And I just want to go through a few ideas that she offered that I haven't, so that we can just add to our tools. Okay. So either my kid is like screaming and freaking out or having fun and freaking out. We'll hope it's the having fun. Hope you can't hear that. But if you can, that's what's going on. Okay. So one of the ones that I love that I had come across before but kind of forgot about, is listening to whale songs. So I love the video that I'm gonna link of Andrea Land talking about nervous system stuff. She has whale songs playing in the background the whole time, which I think is just fantastic. So she has a playlist with whale songs. I'm going to put that in the description, the conversation with Jessa, and her video that she made about nervous system stuff. I think it's nice to hear somebody else talk about the vagus nerve because they have like their own spin on it. And I think it might fill in some gaps that I might have missed. Okay, so whale songs, I'm going to link that. Epsom salt baths, and then like salt baths in general. I don't really know other kinds of salts, but you can look into that. I am aware that salt baths are like super awesome. I mean, Epsom salt baths, and I really would like to do more of them. So that was another good reminder, something practical, easy, like not expensive that you can do to support your nervous system. She talks about standing in dirt, which I've heard before, like grounding with your bare feet. But she said especially sand. There's something, I'm gonna forget the word now, like silicone, is that right? Um, that is in the sand. I don't have sand near me, so I don't know if it's like there's probably somebody who's come up with like buy a little bit of sand and put your feet in it, right? So that was an interesting one. So check into that if that feels interesting to you. Um, the other one I loved that she reiterated that I have been talking a lot about lately, is getting small, consistent calories. That's the phrase I use, is consistent calories. Like, um, small bits of food throughout the day. So a lot of us are having decreased appetite, and that has a lot to do with the vagus nerve. And if the vagus nerve is in that like freeze mode or play dead, it's not going to have an appetite. It's not going to want you to chew anything. This is definitely not going to want you to eat a whole meal. And so having little snacks throughout the day is like super fantastic. She recommends protein, which she explained it as like it helps to move some sort of specific thing like out of the body with the protein. And I don't understand that aspect, but that sounds wise to me. So play with that if that feels right to you. I am a big fan. I have like little bowls of nuts and fruit and chocolate chips like all over my house. And I just like eat them as I walk by, just like take a handful. I learned that when my kid was a toddler, and they said like toddlers really don't like a big meal. And so if you could put like little bowls of food around and they can just like graze as they go through their life, I think that's a really good option for us too. And the nuts and the dried fruit and the chocolate chips, the chocolate just like helps it taste better to me. But the nuts and the dried fruit are something that like works for me well because I get overwhelmed by needing to have like fresh stuff cut up or like stuff that's going to go bad. And so this is something that won't go bad. I can just leave it around and stack on it. Um, so, excuse me. Consistent calories, like small snacks throughout the day. She said, think of it like when people have morning sickness when they're pregnant, that like a little food, all like just keep a little food in your stomach at all times and don't take big breaks from eating and don't like do like big meals. And that helps with nausea. And that's something that comes up a lot with vagus nerve stuff is nausea. So having that mentality of just like always having little snacking can be really great for your vagus nerve. I was super happy to hear her talk about that. And then she also goes through in that video that she made about the vagus nerve, some about PTSD, which I think is really helpful to know about because PTSD is sort of like, or complex PTSD, which I think a lot more of us have than we realize. It sort of is like a habit that gets formed by the nervous system so that it just like goes to fight, flight, freeze more quickly. And a lot of us, feel like there's something wrong with us or that we need to have more of a calm nervous system or whatever. But it's just a real thing that like whatever you personally have been through in your personal history or also ancestral, like epigenetic history, at least 7 generations back, like that's going to make you a little predisposed to being quicker to move towards those fight, flight, freeze responses. And that's okay. Like, sure, it's not like super fun, but again, it's nice that we have ways that we can support ourselves and that we can also like not expect ourselves to be like super chill all of the time if we've been through a lot, right? So I like how she explains that and talks about that. I also like that in the conversation with Jessa, she brings up effective mobilization. She doesn't use those words, but she's basically talking about effective mobilization when she talks about a book called, oh, now I'm going to forget the name of the book, something about the Awaken the Tiger or something like that. Let me just check. Waking the Tiger Healing Trauma by Peter Levine. Okay, so Peter Levine's like an awesome, awesome leader in the field of understanding the relationship between our bodies and our experiences and our like fear responses. So I haven't read that book, but I stand by anything that Peter Levine does. So basically she talks about that. There she gives this amazing story that points to it so clearly. So there was this group of kids, sounds like an awful story. They were like buried alive by somebody. Awful. All of them had tremendous PTSD. The one kid who had the like best mental health outcomes was the kid who decided to start digging. Like he did something about the situation, right? So mobilizing is, if we think about the polyvagal ladder or the autonomic ladder, as Deb Dana calls it. At the bottom, we've got freeze response. It's the least empowered. It's like, okay, somebody buried me. I'm just going to lay here and be like, oh my God, this is so awful. I'm just going to die here, right? That's a freeze response. The polyvagal ladder represents like a gravitational pull, kind of, that the vagus nerve has to move us back towards ventral, which is calm and connected. So freeze response or dorsals at the bottom. Then as you go further up the ladder, you're going to get to the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight. It's a little bit more empowered, and it is going to represent that, like doing something. So anger can live here, and like irritation and anxiety, but those are ineffective. They are not effective mobilization. Okay. So anger and irritation and anxiety are like hamster wheel mobilization. Okay. When we get off of that hamster wheel and we reach for effective mobilization, like actual physical movement and assertive communication, that's when we can continue to move up the ladder and get to, excuse me, ventral, which is the calm and connected at the top of the ladder. And so our vagus nerve is perpetually trying to bring us back into ventral by design. That design can get interrupted, again, like I mentioned a minute ago, by PTSD. So PTSD can make us like stuck on a ventral, a dorsal sympathetic loop where we like can't get back up to ventral. And that's what we retrain ourselves to do through things like the Safe and Sound protocol and nervous system understanding and exercises. Sorry, I get excited and then I talk so fast because I just feel like I have to like get all of it out before I forget it. So, the in the story, the kid who was buried and was like, "Fuck this! Like, I'm gonna dig myself out." Right? Started digging. Like he had the best mental health outcomes because that was an effective mobilizing. It was saying, "I'm gonna physically move." Right? So he got out some of those stress chemicals that came up in his body. He got those out through the physical exertion of digging, and he claimed his like assertive right to live by being like, yeah, I'm gonna dig myself out. Like, fuck you for burying me, like I'm gonna do something about this. So when we can access that doing, that is what can support us in processing trauma through. So in this book, according to Andrea Land, the doing of saying like, yeah, I'm going to get out of this dangerous situation, is the most impactful healing or like transmutation of trauma, not like re-talking about it 100,000 times. So when we can say like, all right, for example, when I had the situation with my contractor with my house, and he like ended up not following through and taking all the money but not doing the work, when I felt really stuck, like I was gonna have to work it out with him or give up the house, that was when I was feeling the worst. Like I was feeling the most victimy and the most disempowered, right? But when I started being like, you know what? I'm gonna find a different contractor. I'm gonna get a new loan. I'm gonna do my own thing and just really let that go, what happened with him, and not dwell on it and not continue to try to fix it. That's when things shifted for me because I was able to be like, you buried me. I'm going to dig myself out. Like, I don't need you to dig me out. I will dig myself out. And sure, more work, more money, longer time before we could live here, yada, yada. But when I was like, stopped asking him to dig me out, or stopped just laying there being like, yeah, you buried me. When I started being like, oh, you know what? I will start ticking, right? And that gap between, oh no, you buried me, and I will start ticking, that is a big gap for a lot of us, especially those of us who have been through a lot of trauma, right? Or who have just a lot of victim programming in us. That gap is where we can insert the nervous system work, right? Because the nervous system work is what is like a bridge between the victimhood and having some agency to effectively mobilize, to access assertive communication, to get physically moving, digging ourselves out of situations. And it's not as difficult as assertive communication, right? That's why it's a bridge. It's like makes it gets us there in a way that we can actually go through. So, along with all these great suggestions that Andrea has about the grounding and the sand and the whale sounds and the um, salt baths and snacks. Um, she also goes through the exercises, which I have loads of them on my YouTube channel as well, that are in the four categories of breath work, vocalization, um, gentle movement, and mindfulness. And I would add, this is sort of the four categories that most people say the nervous system exercises are in. And I really believe that creativity is a really important fifth one. So when we add these into our day, uh, the benefit for our nervous system is enormous because what it does is it comes in and it gets that vagus nerve really like stretching and moving and being more flexible and able to support us through these things like the victimhood thinking and the all that we're inundated with environmentally. So loads of examples of breath work on the internet, right? My favorite one is the 4-7-8. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. That one will it's like a fantastic reset. Vocalization, those are a little bit less easy to find. You can look up vocal exercises that singers do, and those ones are great. But when you're thinking about all of these categories, you can just think about like ancient wisdom traditions, they have all of them, right? So breath work is like so embedded in meditation, especially in like Buddhist and Hindu and like every ancient wisdom tradition really, because even though like even in Judaism and Islam there's not like per se breath work that, and I could be wrong about this, but it's not as like prominent as say in Buddhism or Hinduism, um but it is embedded in because of all the singing and chanting incorporates that, right? So the vocalization with all the singing and chanting, the movement with even with you can think about it like daily prayers in a lot of the wisdom traditions, like you're doing standing and bowing and standing up and bowing, or like yoga, tai chi. All of these incorporate movement, which is so good for the vagus nerve. And then mindfulness is many people associate mindfulness with meditation. It's not meditation. So you can mindfully meditate, or you can meditate like, and you're just disassociated. um, Mindfully meditating or mindfully doing anything is just paying attention to your senses as you do whatever you're doing. So I can be mindful as I make a YouTube video. I'm just like noticing what I'm hearing. I'm noticing what I'm seeing. I'm noticing what I'm feeling. I'm noticing what I'm smelling, etc. You can do that while you're doing the dishes, while you're going to the bathroom, while you're hanging out with your kid, while you're driving. You can be mindful in every state, except for like sleep, unless some people are able to be like more like lucid dreaming or whatever. Um, and that is so good for your nervous system because your vagus nerve's main job is to interpret the sensory experience and the functioning of the body, and then to give that information to the brain about whether it's safe or not. So paying attention to your senses is so powerful. Um, so we did movement, mindfulness, breath work, and vocalization. And then with the creativity, if you think also about every ancient wisdom tradition, like art and creating beauty was such a huge part of those traditions. Those, the places of worship are like gorgeous palaces that celebrate art. And so accessing our creative um, inspiration without putting all the shit that has been put on us around art by like a competitive, like hierarchical issue with like, oh, you're not good at art, or you are good at art, or if you're not paid for art, then you're not an artist. So accessing creativity is something that I really am encouraging people to do. I also think that from like a Gene Keys perspective and human design perspective, like we're all going to be moving towards being more like having our artistic input output be really, really what the world like makes the world turn versus like the industry. And so I really am encouraging people to connect with their creativity. And this, I like to call it unskilled creativity. So something as simple as like right here, I love sewing. It's very calming to me, but I'm not like a skilled sewer. So this is like just a piece of fabric that I like went into, out of, and then scrunched up and then like connected together. So it looks like a little flower. Something as simple as this that you just like fiddle with, right? And the colors make me really happy, and the physical sensation, the repetitive nature, and just like playing with it and seeing what happens when we do different things um, is just like that's creativity, right? Or just like taking a piece of paper, drawing a bunch of loop-de-loos on it, and then coloring in the gaps with different colors. Um, Writing little poems. I have been enjoying, you may have seen on some of my shorts, like taking little tiny short videos of nature and then writing like a simple couple of words. They feel like very short poems to me. Anything like that that's accessing your creativity, dancing, singing, um, cooking, gardening, house decorating, of course, all the regular arts things, anything is really great. And that research is showing more and more that like you cannot be like the opposite. I think it's Martha Beck who says the opposite of anxiety is creativity. Like you can't be creative and anxious at the same time. So, um, yeah, just was really excited to see more people talking about the nervous system, more people talking about how impactful it is, and just love that we can continue to um, share information about what our options are, how we can support our nervous systems, and how we can support these physical bodies as we continue to shift into these new timelines and experience all these environmental things that are going on. Ugh, big yawn. So my vagus nerve was like, yes. Okay. I love you all so much. Let me know if you have other like resources or thoughts around any of these things. Share them in the comments. Come and join our community. So excited to be learning about all this stuff together in community. It's been really fun. So I'll put that information in the description as well. Okay. Love you.